So this is what we're going to be covering in today's webinar. We hope to be taking about 20 to 30 minutes, and we're going to be focusing on both of our core products. We've got our training register and our RAMs. I'm going to take you through some of the additions to training register first, and then I'm going to go through some RAMs changes, and finally we're going to have a look at some of the updates coming soon to the system in the form of project review and single sign-on. As part of today's webinar, I will briefly be touching on our risk register product. I'll do that a little bit later. And even though that's been around for a while, we've recently had a fair bit of interest coming from people wanting to know the difference between a standard content editing, so your customized library, for any of you that have a custom library with us at the moment, and risk register as a separate product. So I'll go into much more detail about that later. Again, I'll remind anyone, I can see a couple of people have just joined, we can't hear you or see you, so if you do have any questions as we go through, please do drop it in the chat or the Q&A at the top of your screens. But firstly, I'm going to pass you on to Roshni, who's going to kick us off by taking a look at some of the training register additions that we're putting through recently. Roshni, off you go.
Thanks, Lauren. Hi, everyone. It is actually great to see so many familiar names on the webinar. So yeah, hey to everybody, and thank you for joining. But yeah, I think I'll kick things off with the training register API. So once we actually launched the training register, one of the main requests that we got from all of you was, how can we link our training register to your other HR systems and your other management systems? So we listened and we did something about it, and now we launched the training register API, which means that it's going to be so easy for you to connect HandsHQ to all of your other systems. So this is going to make personnel management so much easier for you guys. So you can update, you can add people, you can delete people, and you can even archive your personnel in HandsHQ. And you can just know that it's automatically updated all of that information in your other management software, such as Salesforce or Monday.com. I think Microsoft Dynamics, even Workday. There's a long list of things that we can now connect with, and vice versa. So if you update it in Monday.com, it will also automatically update it in HandsHQ. The API has actually also really turned our lives around as well, because it allows us, and now you, to quickly import all of the existing data into the system. So things like the names, the roles, the emails, and even the line managers can just be entered in at a click of a button. And so for some context there, so for those of you who have joined, who signed on to the training register previously, you will all know that we had to actually manually go in and enter in all that information before, whereas now it's so easy to do just through a spreadsheet. And it also means for those of you who already use our training register, if you're bringing on new sides of the business, or just new people in general, it's going to be so much easier for you to just automatically update them into the system. So yeah, a little bit on how it works. So on this slide here, you can see we've got a screenshot of it linked with Monday.com, which I know a lot of you use. So you can see the traffic light system using HandsHQ is now replicated in here. So you can see at a glance the personnel training status, and it's going to prevent you from having to update or log into two different systems to check the same information. So yeah, as I kind of mentioned before, the API works with Zapier, Power Automate, and Open API as our intermediaries. But this is what allows HandsHQ to link with Salesforce or Monday.com, Microsoft Dynamics, Workday. We've got a long list of those. So if you do want any more information on how you can access this, just let us know in the chat, and we will be in touch afterwards to help. Great. I think I'll hand it over to Lauren for the next bit of information.
Excellent. Thanks, Rosh. So next edition, kind of sticking with training register for the moment, is our custom expiry reminders. So Any of you currently using Training Register will be familiar with the fact that you are sent, so yourself or whoever has the training associated with them, will be sent reminders when a course is set to expire. And at the moment, well, not anymore, I suppose, but previously it was set to 60 days as standard. So it was kind of universal across all of the courses that you might have on your account. At 60 days, you would be sent an email reminding you to get that course rebooked in, ready for its expiry in 2 months' time. A lot of you got in touch with us saying, look, 60 days sometimes either is too much time, we're just going to put it off and we're not going to get it done, or maybe with some of the more complex courses that might take a little bit longer to book, it can actually be not enough time to get that organized, understand who needs to go on to that course. You can get 10 20 people all attending the same training day, so you want a little bit longer to get that email and sort things out. So we've given you the option of actually adjusting the expiry time individually for each course that might be in your library, and that will just give you a lot more flexibility and enable you to kind of control when you get those reminders through. I'm going to quickly show you this in app now, so just bear with me. I'm going to jump through into HandsHQ. And if we go into the personnel section now, and navigate to our course register. So this is where all of those courses that you've assigned to your business are stored, and whether or not you're adding a new course or perhaps you're adjusting an existing course, whether or not that's a e-learning if you use it or just in an internal course that you've got, you can jump into any of these, go to edit course, and you'll now find that additional panel set underneath expiration, where you can see I've already manually changed that expiry reminder to sit at 120 days rather than 60. The moment you make that change, anyone that has that course already associated with them will start to get that expiry reminder much earlier. So that's kind of an instant change across the whole platform. If you've got any questions about how this works, or you want to just have a kind of a quick show around, do get in touch, and we'll be happy to kind of take you around the feature. And if you've got any other questions about Training Register as well, we can do that for you. So moving back to the slides, I'm going to pass you back over to Roshni. He's going to take you through a couple of changes that we've recently made to the training matrix.
Thanks, Lauren. So another requested update that we had from you guys, and it was mainly from those of you who had multiple divisions, was the ability to choose if you just wanted to download the training matrix for people in that one division, or if you wanted it for everyone in the company, as well as the option of including subcontractors when you download the training matrix. Yeah, that was quite heavily requested from you guys. So yeah, we've done something about that, and we've given you the choice to be able to select what information you now want to download in your training matrix. So this will save you from having to filter all the information on the spreadsheet itself, and yeah, hopefully make that life a little bit easier for you. And just a quick one on some updates we've made to our e-learning. All of our HandsHQ course certificates now are verified by the CPD. So as you can see in the image, we've now added the logo onto the certificates. And a massive thank you to everybody who brought to our attention that some of your clients weren't accepting these certificates without that logo on there. So yeah, we listened and we solved this, and we managed to get that on there, but that wouldn't have been done if it wasn't for you guys bringing that to our attention. So a massive thank you to everyone for raising this to us. We've also added a few new HandsHQ courses to our library, which I've listed here. So things like the creative thinking training and competition law. Every month, we're going to be reviewing what HandsHQ have added to their library and ensure that this is also added to HandsHQ. So you should always have access to the latest training modules out there. Yeah, that's pretty much it from the training register updates, I believe. So I'm going to hand it back over to Lauren to talk us through some of the RAM side of things.
Thanks, Rosh. So, as I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, I wanted to spend a little bit of time today just from, I suppose, my role in customer success, making sure everyone uses the system as well as they can, focusing on Risk Register. So, this isn't a new product, this has been around for a couple of years, and this is designed primarily to help with the issue around auditing and review. So if any of you ever had to sit through days of auditing and you're used to someone grilling you about your document management procedures and how you're tracking changes and kind of specifically reviewing existing documentation, Risk Register is designed to do that for your risk assessment. So those of you that have content editing for your RAM, so that custom kind of master library, you are able to control and add new risk assessments to your library. And as part of that, we wanted to make sure that if you needed to, you have the ability to review and track your history for those risk assessments. So if something happens on site or you have a change in policy internally and that needs to be reflected with the control measures for your risk assessments, you can now track that those changes have been made, so that if you are being asked the questions by auditors, for example, or perhaps there's a kind of accident management kind of incident on site, anything like that, you can jump in really quickly and easily, update that risk assessment, push it out to live projects, but also have a nice activity history for that risk assessment in your library as well. So I'm just going to jump back through to HandsHQ now, and I'll show you a kind of a whistle-stop tour of how that works. So you'll see we've got a tab at the top called Risk Register. For many of you, this will just say content if you're just using content editing, but what Risk Register will give you is first and foremost this status indicator, which will show you the kind of red, amber, green of the risk assessments within those categories. We open that up, we can see we've got references for all of these risk assessments, as well as review dates and who this is assigned to. So we can choose who is kind of given the responsibility of reviewing that risk assessment when the review date comes up. As you can see, despite this being our demo account, we've let things slide, me and Roshni. But if we were to jump in to working outside, we can see when that next review date is and who it's assigned to. I would receive an email as well, just letting me know that that needs to be reviewed. We can then jump into edit risk assessment. And if we were to add some control measures, so some new information in here, perhaps change our risk ratings, even add a completely new task to this risk assessment, we could review that. We can set the next review date. So if I make it 2 years from today, I can assign it to Mr. Blobby, and I can give a comment saying added control measures for working in, let's check I can spell, and then save those changes. And that's going to do a couple of things. Firstly, and kind of most simply, it's going to add that change to your history. So you can see the comments pulled through. We can get PDFs of all the previous versions of that particular risk assessment so that we can see the life cycle of that risk assessment and how it's changed over time. And secondly, it's going to affect any projects that are currently live that use that risk assessment. So you can see if you're using Risk Register, we gain an additional column on our project dashboard, which focuses on whether or not the risk assessments contained within that set of RAMs are up to date. So if we jump into Westminster, we can see that we've got an out-of-date risk assessment. We can navigate through. It's telling us that we've got one out-of-date risk assessment that's due for review. It's only going to do this for projects which are live, so within the start date and the end date, or which are upcoming, so they're yet to start. And the reason why is just you're only reflecting those changes for projects that are actually going to be able to kind of make those changes on site, say kind of conduct those control measures. So if we jump into review now, we can see that working outside, we've got an out-of-date version. We go through to edit, and you can see at the top we've got a kind of a banner telling us that it's firstly out of date, that we're using the wrong version, when that version was created, and the comment that you saw that I added when I was in the risk register part of the system. So this will give us the ability as a user to understand what change was made, whether or not it's relevant. So if I've already made an adjustment to this to reflect site-specific information, job-specific information, I might at this point actually choose to keep my version rather than update it to latest. And that's just because it will mean that I don't need to retype any of that site-specific information. But if I do think the change is either very important or it's not something that would affect any site-specific information, I'm going to update it to latest. That's going to let me know that I'm overwriting any changes that I've made to this specific risk assessment for this project, for this set of RAMs. And then it's going to update it and it's going to take into account the new information that I've included in that risk assessment. And what that means is just that you've got that really nice life cycle of that audit process, making sure that any change that you've made as a business to control measures, you might have added really important information in there, can be easily shared with any live RAMs so that you've got that information ready to share with anyone on site doing the work. If you've got any questions about Risk Register, you think it would be useful for your business, or maybe you just want a little bit of a play around, do let us know and we can get that arranged for you as well. But I'm going to jump back into the slides for now and move through to our content library updates. So if you've been following our kind of newsletters we put through every month, one of the main things that we talk about is some of the content library updates that we've made in HandsHQ. So if we take a look at some of the changes we've made recently, any of you that are using our shared HandsHQ library, so definitely if you're on kind of basic, advanced, pro, or maybe some of our standard enterprise, and you still are linked to the HandsHQ library, you will see these changes reflected automatically in your content library. So you will, for instance, already be able to see the passenger and goods hoist risk assessment added to our plant and equipment category, as well as the information for pipe freezing and tree felling that will already be in your systems. However, if you've got your own custom content library because you're using content editing risk register and you're seeing anything on the slides today that you think would be useful, just get in touch with us and if it's a risk assessment, we can add that in there for you. And if it's the information for the kind of regulations changes for PPE and scaffolding, you can make sure that you can reflect that within your own content library really simply, and we'll tell you where to find that information. Moving forward, we're doing this, every month we're making sure we're keeping up to date, adding information that we think would be useful for everyone. So if you're doing certain kind of trades and you're in a certain industry that you don't think is reflected quite as well in HandsHQ and you think it would be useful for other people, do pass it through to us. Our in-house kind of safety expert, Rob, loves having a look at things like this, reviewing them, adding them to the library, making sure that we're being as kind of useful as possible for as many people and keeping up to date with any kind of legislation changes as well. So, good time to move on to some of the kind of new changes that we've got for HandsHQ in the future. So, everything I'm about to show you now, as with the changes you've already seen, have come out as a result of feedback that many of you have passed through to us. So, we'll start with project review dates. So, this is a feature that we've been thinking about for a while, actually, and it's primarily here to help those of you that either have longer projects, running in months, maybe even years, that you've got a set of RAMs for that needs to be reviewed periodically. That may also be the case for some of you that have perhaps kind of permanent maintenance jobs, repair jobs at the same site. Instead of writing a set of RAMs each time, it may be your kind of business policy to write a single set of RAMs that you perhaps produce at the point where you get the job, and then you review that annually to make sure that the information reflected in it is up to date. The project review dates feature is going to help you go about both of those reviews by enabling you to set kind of various kind of lengths of time between when a RAMS was created and when it needs to be reviewed. So you will be able to assign a person and assign a date, and then you will get an email basically saying, hi, Stratford Park is up for review. You can review the set of RAMs put your comments in a box. It will go into the activity history for the project, and it will be marked as having been gone through that review process. As I said kind of earlier, this has been asked for by a number of you for kind of different use cases. If you think it would be useful for you, it's not live yet. We're hoping it's going to be live in the summer, maybe beginning of autumn. And if you are interested, let us know now, and we can make sure you're seeing some of those early designs, and we can make sure you're the first to know about it when it goes live as well. Next up, we've got single sign-on. So again, this has been kind of those of you that know what this is. You've probably been one of our customers that have been badgering us about this for a while now. I don't know about any of your businesses, but we use up to, 20 is probably not that many, but we've got even more than that kind of pieces of software that we use as a business, and it means setting up new logins every single time for you to remember. And single sign-off is basically a ability for you to log in to multiple pieces of software using the same login details. So the classic examples of this, so if you use Microsoft, you use like Outlook or you use Teams, and you've already got a Microsoft account, at the moment, we've kind of releasing the first iteration will be with Microsoft, and you'll be able to log into HandsHQ using those Microsoft details. So it will be just as secure. You don't need to worry about the fact that you're using the same login. It's a kind of very secure way of logging into multiple pieces of software. In fact, it's much more secure than if you're doing what kind of the norm is, which is have the same password for lots and lots of different pieces of software. This is a much more secure way of not having to remember everything, but avoiding that kind of lack of security as well. So if you've got any questions about single sign-on, so we're going to move on, I think, to Gmail's on the top of our list as well, and a couple of others. But if you have a kind of single sign-on software that supports single sign-on, and you want us to have a think about connecting with that as well, let us know. And I know Irina especially is keen to hear what kind of software people like to use as well. But as I said, we're starting with Microsoft. We're going to be moving through to Google as well, which is great because that's what we use. I think that's probably a good place to kind of let you know, probably a kind of really good takeaway from today's webinar, which is we want you guys to give us your feedback and suggestions. Everything that you've seen today has been suggested either by getting in touch with myself, Roshni, Michelle, Joanna, anyone here at the customer success team, either through email or through intercom. And we've actually got a really specific place you can go to have a look at our roadmap. So if you go to handshq.com/roadmap, you can see everything that we're thinking about, thinking about, and what we've got in our development pipeline as well, so that you can expect kind of certain changes to be made kind of sooner rather than later. You can upvote things to make sure that we're focusing on kind of features that are really important to you, give us feedback about why they'll be important, and this really helps shape the whole software really. You know, we want to build this software for you. We want it to make your lives as easy as possible and be heading in the right direction. So whilst our focus at the moment is on RAMs, anything that can help you with RAMs, obviously that's our bread and butter, and then moving on to training as well. If you've got any ideas that you think will support the kind of suite of features that we've got at the moment, please do get in touch. It's great to hear your feedback. We love working with you here in our CS team as well, and I think we're really blessed to have such an engaged group of customers that are so great at giving us ideas and feedback and enable us to make these developments moving forward as well. Unless I've got any questions, Irina, that I haven't kind of answered as we've gone through today, we would love to hear any of your questions moving forward. If you haven't had time to ask them today, just get in touch with us through the kind of normal methods, email or our message chat on the website, and especially if you'd like more information on anything that you've seen, whether or not it's upcoming, whether or not it already exists, we're here to support you and make your lives easier, so please do get in touch. Have we got any questions I need to answer here and now, or anything that I can?
Yeah, there are a couple of questions about the cost. So will there be additional costs for these new features? If you could, yeah, I think it usually depends on how your account is set up and what package you're on. But Lauren, if you have any other answers to that, that would be great.
Yeah, that's perfect. It will depend on what package you're on. So most of these features will come in for our enterprise packages, but most, for example, content updates and stuff, that's applicable for everyone. If you're interested in any of them, just get in touch with us directly, and we'll be able to kind of let you know specifically for each package and what that would mean for you, because it might well be that you're in the right package anyway, and you'll get it as part of what you're paying for already. Any other kind of questions or?
Yeah, another question about the risk matrix, if it can be created for 6x5 rather than 5x5.
That's a great question. Great question. So we can support 5x5 and we can support 3x3. We can't currently support 6x5. If you think that would be really useful and you have some examples for us, particularly if, say, it's being mandated by certain principal contractors or clients, anything like that, just send us an example and we'll have a look at making changes as well. Excellent. I think that's everything. If you do have any questions that we haven't answered today, as I said, do get in touch. But I think we'll let you get on with your mornings. And thank you so much for joining. It's lovely to see kind of so many familiar faces. I can see there's a couple of questions coming through here. I think Irina's going to answer them now. But please be free to go on and have a lovely day. And yeah, lovely seeing you all. Well, not seeing you all, I suppose, but seeing your names here, kind of watching the webinar today.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining, guys. Yeah, honestly, great to see so many familiar names here. And we'll be getting in touch with everybody who's been asking us questions and just in general as a follow-up after this. So yeah, don't worry, you guys will hear from us soon.
Brilliant. And one final thing, if you want to share this with anyone from your team, or you kind of just want a recording for yourself, we have recorded the webinar and we will be sending it out to anyone that they're registered, so you will be able to watch this back if you need to as well. Right, take care, and I think we'll wish you a lovely day. And again, thank you very much for joining.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.